Perspectives from the Sky on Saturday, March 12th, beginning at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. The next time we get together will be actually next Saturday, but we will have changed clocks. No, not everyone. Arizona will not have changed their clocks. Everyone else in America, as far as I know, does change it. So we will still be starting at 1 o'clock. We'll be on Pacific Coast time at 1 o'clock. So on the Pacific Coast, it'll be the same time, but everyone else kind of adjusts. If you're on the East Coast, for instance, it'll be 4 o'clock that the show starts instead of 3 p.m. Because we'll be 3 hours apart as opposed to 2 hours apart at this time of the year. Wow, since we talked last, what was the last time we talked? It was on, I think, February 19th. And the invasion had not started yet. We did let you know it was going to. And now it's here. We're going to start today with the big picture, because the big picture is really necessary in times like this, because people can get down into the mud and the dirt of what's going on, which is fine at times. But if you're staying in the mud and the dirt and not looking at the big picture, you can get down into a lot of your lower self as opposed to your higher self, which is really important right now, to connect with that deeper soul self, some call higher self. And bigger picture, we moved into the Age of Aquarius on winter solstice 2020. Now, there's people out there go, oh yeah, Age of Aquarius, this is worse than ever. I've also been letting you know, other people have been too, I'm sure, that this transition between ages is not going to be pretty. We've talked a long time that the military-industrial complex was going to be transformed. What does that mean? The economy and the military. Take a look. Take a look. The military is definitely changing. The economy is in the process of a big change. This is real. And this is all part of the transition from the old age to the new age. The most important thing now that will bring on the new age in a bigger and bigger way all the time, because it's us that brings it on, is a shift in consciousness. This is what the new world is about, a shift in consciousness. And the more and more people that shift in consciousness, the more we are opening up to the best of the Aquarian age, as opposed to the worst of the dying Pisces age. Here's the most important part of the change of consciousness. It's not about making enemy. It's not about good guys versus bad guys. Hey, look, I grew up at a time where, we were all shooting little guns at each other, playing cowboys and Indians, good guys and bad guys. Terrible. Come on. That's fine for then. That's not where we're at now. And the good guys and bad guys thing has to end. So now we got the bad guy, Putin. We got the good guy, Zelensky in Ukraine. And Western civilization is the good guy. China, Russia, they're the bad guys. Come on. What are we, children? Are we way back in consciousness? We're supposed to be growing and moving through things like this. Remember the bad guy in 2003? Iraq, Saddam Hussein. What did we do? We went in and bombed and killed, thousands of innocent people. Thousands of innocent people. This war with Putin is not the first time that innocent people are killed. It's happened at all the wars. I'll give you the worst one. First week in August, it was August 6th, 1945. We dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. 3 days later, we dropped another one on Nagasaki, Japan. Do you know how many people we killed? We killed a couple 100,000 people. And I can tell you now, most of them were innocent civilians. Our excuse was, we need to end the war. Japan is stubborn. They won't end the war, so we're going to drop a bomb. Really? What that did is not only kill those hundreds of thousands of people, but it started a nuclear bomb war, meaning countries then realized after the United States did that they need to build their own nuclear bombs in order to be able to defend themselves in the world. And so here we are. What's also interesting is that in a lot of the interviews that I've done with people who've met up with ETs, and by the way, we've got a wonderful guest back tonight. Dr. Holly Bean will be with us again, and she'll be talking about her experiences with ETs. Remember, she started a little bit last time on the 19th of February, and now we're going to find out a lot more from her. I'm looking forward to that. And Deborah Knighton Tallarico may or may not be on today. She's doing some things, and hopefully she'll come on in time to give us a good meditation. We need it now, but we'll see what happens there. So back to what we were talking about, the good guys and the bad guys. So that's where it all starts, is we demonize. Now all of a sudden Putin is Hitler. Saddam Hussein was the demon. You don't think the other side does that with us? Come on. They all say that the United States, the Western civilization, and the leaders here are the bad guys. Do you get the big picture here? Everybody makes it like the other side is the bad guys that we need to eradicate. Part of the new consciousness is right here. Not that complicated, not easy to get to, but not that complicated. You know, the yin yang symbol. The opposites are not at war with each other. The blue's not way over here and the red way over here. The blue and the red are together as one. That's the new consciousness. We have to get there. With nuclear weapons, we're going to blow ourselves up if we don't get there. And we're right on the edge of that now. So each one of us has the responsibility of finding inside of ourselves that unity between yin and yang inside, between male and female. Hey, guys out there, you got to integrate your female side. Women are doing better at that. They're integrating the male side. Men, we got to integrate the female side inside of us. Oh my God, it feels that. No, it's not like that. You're still a man. You just got to integrate that softer quality, that the feminine side, which is bringing things together as one. We need that inside of ourselves. And now's the time. The more we can do with that new consciousness, the more we're going to do for changing this world. The Pisces Age began about 2,100 years ago, close to the time of the birth of Christ. Pisces Age. Christ very much iconically Pisces. Sensitive, compassionate, sacrificing self for something greater. That's the part that needs to end now. We don't need the saviors, and we don't need the sacrifice. We need all of us together in community, in unity, in community, or diversity within unity. Each of us is different. We honor the differences, and at the same time, we find a way to come together in unity. It's the only way forward now. Take a look at this. Back in the late 1800s, Neptune was conjunct Pluto. That happens once every 500 years. They're the two furthest out planets. Remember, the three transformational planets are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus was discovered in 1781, Neptune in 1846, Pluto in 1930. So Neptune and Pluto, which are very slow. Neptune takes 165 years to make a cycle. Pluto takes approximately 250 years to make a cycle. So when they're conjunct each other, that's why it's once every 500 years that they meet up. What's happened since then? The 20th century happened, which brought us all together as far as like communication systems, right? Radio, television, etc. Transportation systems, airplanes, cars, trains, more than cars, bring us all together as one. But we haven't learned how to do it in our hearts and souls and our minds. So the message from Neptune conjunct Pluto in the late 1800s was, we are all one on this planet. And we're all connected on this planet. And let's build these systems up that bring us closer together. And now that we're closer together, we have to get to the next step, which is we connect with each other in our hearts and our souls. God, I know how difficult that looks like now. Back to the Pisces age into the Aquarius age, Zelensky from Ukraine seems like a very honorable man. But, he's about to play out another sacrifice, Piscean sacrifice. We don't need any more of that. We need us all to come together in equality as one. No saviors anymore. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the saviors together as one. And we need to be able to get there. Do your best not to demonize Russia and Putin. Yes, see it for what it is. It's terrible what they're doing. Everyone's going to agree with that. But they're not the bad guys and the demons. Like I just pointed out to you a little while ago, the United States in Iraq, the United States in Japan. I could point that out with any country, especially when it becomes an empire. It just rolls over everybody else. And the Soviet Union was an empire too. And it seems sometimes that Putin wants to get back to being an empire and have the two empires, Well, what's really happening is Russia, China are building a fortress, and Western civilization, NATO, is building their fortress for ultimate mutual destruction. This is why we need to change our consciousness now. Please do your meditation. Go to places, go into nature. Listen to the music that makes you feel like together inside with your higher self and with the connection to other people. I've talked before, there's this degree of fixed signs, 28 degrees. It's fixed signs, by the way, are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And so many countries and so many people have important planets at 28 degrees of fixed signs. I mean, leaders in the world. Biden does. Putin does. Countries, North Korea, Israel, United States has their moon at almost 28 degrees of Aquarius. In 1947, when we had the alien crash in Roswell, New Mexico, in like June, I believe, of 1947, there was a solar eclipse, new moon in Taurus, at what? 28 degrees of Taurus. So that fits into it too. Why do I bring that up? We'll be talking more today with Dr. Holly Bean, but I'm bringing that up because, I started interviewing people who said they had encounters with ETs back in 2000, when I interviewed Dr. John Mack, when I had a radio show in Santa Fe on public radio. And Dr. John Mack is a doctor and a psychiatrist who began interviewing people. I've told you this before. I want to bring it up again because it's pertinent. He began interviewing people all over the world who said they had been abducted by aliens. And of course, when he started his venture, he was laughing and telling people, I'm a psychiatrist. They're all going to be crazy. I already know what's going to happen, but I'm going out there and interviewing everyone. He came back. He had just the opposite. He couldn't believe that everybody all over the world who don't communicate with one another had basically the same stories, the same kind of abduction, the same kind of what happened with them being brought on the ship and all those things. And the one thing that they all had in common additionally was the people that abducted them let them know that because of our environment, what we're doing to our environment, and because of nuclear weapons, we are destroying each other and the earth, but more each other. The earth will probably survive whatever we do, but we're destroying ourselves and we're destroying evolution itself. And this is what they wanted to let everybody know, that they had abducted. So they could spread that word and enter that consciousness that ends the good guy, bad guy way of destroying ourselves. Like I said, I did that at 8 years old. It's not time to do that anymore. 8 years old, it's fine. That's where you're at in consciousness. But if you're still in your consciousness at 8 years, at 50, 60, 70, 30, 40, that same consciousness, come on. We can't do that anymore. Again, we'll talk more with Dr. Bean on this later, but I want to go a little further with all this. So, Pisces Age, over 2,000 years ago, 2,100 years ago, and major religions were being built during that time. Christian religion, Muslim religion, nothing like that had been done before, like worldwide religions, the power of those kind of religions. And now as we get into the Age of Aquarius, there's a different kind of spirituality that's been born. It's a spirituality that recognizes the connections of everything all over the world, just like Christ did, Lao Tzu, Muhammad. They all understood the connections of all and everyone. But then religions kind of turned it into rules and regulations and guilt and things like that. Too many religions did anyway. But we need to come back to that feeling of all unified, all together, all one. I like to call that Christ consciousness in a way. So as the age ends and the new age begins, we need to take with us the best of what that old age was. I don't believe the best of what that old age was are the religions that have turned into rules, regulations, commandments, and sins and guilt. I believe the best was people like Christ and Lao Tzu, Muhammad, people that brought ideas about we're all one. So that kind of consciousness we need to bring with us into this new age. Unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, consciousness that recognizes that we are all one. We are all part of the same family, the human family. Our first message from the planets of a new age was in 1781 when Uranus was discovered. You know what was going on back then? The American and the French Revolution were around that time. And this is what Uranus is about, and Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. And it's about breaking away from the kings, the queens, the authority figures who take responsibility and tell everyone what to do and rule them, us. That revolution, those two revolutions were about we the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. It's our world. But we can't say it's our world like children do. It's my world. Not like that. It's like responsibility for that world. We're responsible for this world that we live in. We the people. And we need to get to that place. We had people like Martin Luther King showed us how to stand up to authority with we the people. We had Mahatma Gandhi show us how to stand up with we the people in civil disobedience. 1930 was an important year too for discovering of planets. It was 1846 also, Neptune, very important. I'll get to that in a little while, but 1930 was extremely important because Pluto was discovered. And I don't care if it's not a planet. Pluto is, believe me, if you're an astrologer or even know much about astrology, you know the power of Pluto. It's real. So Pluto was discovered. Pluto's about power, much about power. And we had powerful figures on the earth at that time, like Hitler, Capone, Stalin. But at the same time, we had Mahatma Gandhi, who in 1930 led the SALT protests against the British Empire. And he brought all these people together in civil disobedience. Power for good, empowerment, not power over. That's the best of Pluto, to be empowered, not to have power over. And that power of the people, without violence, brought the Indian people away from the British Empire. You all know in America, what Martin Luther King with his civil disobedience did for African Americans, for Black people. Tremendous gains came from that kind of unity of we the people. We can do this, but we can't do it with hate in our hearts, or we're making people enemies and evil. That is so childish. So let me go over a little bit of what's coming up, and then we're gonna meet with Holly, Dr. Holly Bean. So the first pertinent thing that's going to be happening, let me make sure. Will be the equinox. The equinox will be on the 20th of March. And we're going to have another show on the 19th. And on the 19th, we're going to bring back Julie Powers. Remember Julie and Holly? Dr. Holly came on together on February 19th. Dr. Holly is tonight, and Julie Powers, RN, will be coming on March 19th, just before spring equinox. So right now we're dealing with the very end of winter. We only have a little bit of time left. What's today? The 12th. We have 8 more days of winter. Spring begins on the 20th at 8:33 a.m. Eastern Time. Then on March 22nd, Mars in Aquarius will make a square to Uranus in Taurus. And that will be some breakthroughs. So a lot of people have breakthroughs, liberate from old ways of being. It's also, however, going to trigger some countries like Israel and Iran. And I'm not sure exactly what that'll mean. I know they're working on on bringing back the agreement that everyone had with Iran around their nuclear weapons, that Donald Trump decided to end the agreement. Very smart thing to do. So now they're trying to bring the agreement back. And something around the 22nd of March, around that time period, around the equinox, something's going to happen around Iran and Israel. Some kind of turning point there. Then on April 1st, there's a new moon in Aries, about 11 degrees of Aries. So Aries is, springtime. Let's get going. Let's get started. Let's move forward. It's the buds starting to come through the branches. It's like that kind of energy. It's like the sperm rushing to the egg. That's that Aries energy. And then on April 4th, we'll have Mars conjunct Saturn at 22 degrees of Aquarius. Now that's going to be important, and that's probably going to be the next turning point, major turning point with what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. That Mars conjunct Saturn in Aquarius will be directly opposite Putin's Pluto in his natal chart. Putin in his natal chart has Pluto right up at the top on the midheaven at 22 degrees of Leo. And Mars and Saturn will be conjunct at 22 degrees of Aquarius. So I expect there to be some kind of turning point in that war between Ukraine and Russia. Late March, early April. And it looks like Israel and Iran both have aspects to that Mars conjunct Saturn in Aquarius also. So you can look for things to be happening with those two countries coming up also. Please keep in mind again, in the big picture, as ugly as it is going to get, as it is already, it's part of the darkness moving into the light. Transformation works this way. And then the phoenix rises when you get to that core dark place. Dark night of the soul. I know a lot of you have had those dark nights of the soul. I certainly have. And they're very painful and they're very scary. But then I remember the wonderful births that I had in my life out of old toxic ways that weren't serving me, but I was clinging on for dear life to the way that it used to be because it felt so familiar and secure. And then some difficulties happen. I know, like in relationship and jobs, especially relationships, that just tore me apart, broke my heart. But something after that, there was the rising of the phoenix. There was a time that I was selling insurance, and in not wonderful, perfect relationship. And it all ended, and I'm doing this now because I felt called to do it. If I hadn't gone through the dark night of the soul, I'd never be doing what I do now, which I absolutely feel so connected to and so in love with what I do and the people I'm working with. So sometimes you have to go through some dark nights of the soul to get where you're going. That's in a more positive way that you've evolved yourself and your life. And this is where the earth is now and the people on it. We're in that place. The Aquarian age is right at our fingertips, or better yet, it's right at the pit of our hearts and our souls. It's there. And we need to clean out the blockages from ways of being that don't work and aren't healthy and aren't connected. And as we clear those out, we open up to more unity. And as we open up to more unity within ourselves and with others and with the universe, we then get further in our evolution and further and deeper into the wonderful age of Aquarius. But like I said, some people are there already in that new consciousness. Other people are close to it. Some people are just waking up. And some people still need to be woken up. And the ones that still need to be woken up are the ones that a lot of this darkness is working for, in a way, if you know what I mean. It's like time to wake up, to move to new consciousness, beyond hatred, beyond us versus them, beyond every man for himself. And I'm not talking Pollyanna. I'm not talking we're all holding hands in a circle saying, Kumbaya, we're all one. It's much deeper, more profound, and more complicated than that. At the same time that we're getting closer and closer to unity, we're getting closer and closer to getting involved in our individuality that's different than everyone else, and being proud of the difference and being proud of our authentic self that's not programmed by society or our families. That self that we can honor because it was made naturally by God, Goddess, the universe, whatever your words are. And if we can't make unity from that place, unity's not worth anything anymore. It's not like unity is I become you so that we can become unified. Or you tell me to be like you and I become like you and now we're unified. Even in your relationships, you don't want to do that. You don't want to become what someone else wants you to be. You want to be true to yourself. I don't mean selfishly or angrily. I just mean honoring how you were made, your authentic self. And from that place, you find the unity. This is our next movement forward as human beings, is to be able to do that. Just keep that in your mind and keep that in your heart when you're working with people, when you're thinking about what's going on in the world, anywhere. You want to stay with your integrity, yes, but you want to learn how to make unity from that place. This is what we're all tasked and challenged to do right now. So after April 4th, like I said, that'll be a big turning point, both Israel, Iran, and also Russia, Ukraine. And then we have a really powerful spiritual aspect on the 12th of April, with Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So on the one hand, it's a good time to surrender to something greater. But for other people, and even for those of us that are moving in the spiritual realms, other dimensions with that combination, we may also find things are more confusing too. Because Jupiter and Neptune, especially with Neptune in there, things can be very confusing. Like, where are things? And sometimes it's needed a little bit of that feeling of chaos, where are things, in order to break something that we're too held on to. So that'll have that kind of purpose with the Jupiter Neptune. Also on the 12th, Mars will be at the 28 degrees of fixed signs. It'll be at 28 degrees of Aquarius. And so I think there'll be something happening inside of you for sure, and in the world around that mid-April time, April 12th. And then, of course, on April 30th, we have a new moon solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus. So all of you that have planets, like in fixed signs, early fixed signs this time, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you'll be greatly affected by this eclipse. And when I say greatly affected, it's not, oh my God, what's going on? No, it's not like that. It means you're going to be helped to grow. You're going to be helped to transform. You're going to be helped to move forward with your life, to break away from things that keep you stuck, that keep you held, that keep you feeling like you are not free and liberated. Uranus will be a part of that new moon, just 4 degrees from the actual new moon eclipse. At 10 degrees, Uranus will be at about 14. So it will help with awakening, and it will help with the breaking outside of boxes and liberating yourself from things that hold you back. And then on the 15th of May, we're about to talk to Dr. Holly soon. Then on the 15th of May, we have a lunar eclipse full moon, and that one will be in Taurus Scorpio. So remember, all new moons are the sun and the moon are together. So on the 30th of April, the sun and the moon are both at 10 degrees of Taurus. Full moons and lunar eclipses, all lunar eclipses are full moons. All solar eclipses are new moons. So on the 15th of May, it'll be a full moon lunar eclipse, which means the sun and moon are directly opposite each other. And in this case, the sun will be in Taurus at 25 degrees plus, and the moon will be in Scorpio at 25 degrees plus. And if you have planets at that degree of fixed signs, like 25, 24 degrees, then you'll be greatly affected by that second eclipse. And there'll be many other important aspects, but I'll talk more about those next week. We'll go further into the aspects. So I see that Deborah Knighton Tallarico, I know her pretty well. She will be on today too. She has just walked into the green room. And I'm hoping that she's going to help us with a guided meditation later today, because I know a whole lot of us actually need a guided meditation with what's going on in the world and what's shaking up in our personal lives too. Nothing better than a good guided meditation. We'll get to there later. So now I'd like to bring on again Dr. Holly Bean, who's a psychotherapist and a professor. I think it's Southern Maine University, but I'll ask her again which university it is. So here comes Holly.
Hello. Hi, Leo. Hello, everybody out there. Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm not hearing you right now, so I don't know what that is.
You're not hearing me?
You have mute on yourself at all?
My mic is on. It says live.
Still can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Deborah, Can you hear me? Can you hear Holly? Hold on, Holly. We'll see if there's anything on this end.
Okay. I don't. Yeah.
I can hear Holly totally.
You can't hear Holly totally?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So Christine says that she can hear both of us.
Let me do this. I think I'll hear you, Holly.
Okay.
Speak again.
Hi.
Oh,
can
good.
you hear me now? There we go.
Yeah. Through my earphones, it's working.
Yeah,
okay.
I can be a little loud. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really glad you're back on.
Thank you.
Let's start where we started last time. The first experience that you had. First of all, what college are you professor at?
University of Southern Maine. I run a department there and I teach. Yeah. And I am a mental health counselor, a psychotherapist as well. Yeah.
Take me back to your first encounter.
Okay. Can I give a little bit of background before that?
Yes.
Okay. So growing up, my dad he's passed, an ordained minister in the Methodist faith. And he had a fantastic library in his office. And he was fascinated by UFOs. He's the one that kind of put it kind of tangible for me, instead of me just thinking about it and wondering what those things are and the lights in the sky. So he was really enamored with Betty and Barney Hill, the abduction in New Hampshire that happened. And he had so much information about it. He had the Area 51 information, which is the Roswell site that you noted earlier.
Yeah.
And then he also had some of Whitley Strieber's book. The first one that he wrote, I believe, was called Communion. So I dove into all those books. Those just called to me. And um, the first experience that I think was felt by more than just myself was when I was a teenager in Strong, Maine, this little town in Strong, Maine, just past Farmington. And I was babysitting, and we were in the center of town, 600 people, not very many. I was babysitting across from the parsonage and the church that's in the center, and I could hear them coming. I was familiar with them, but I can't tell you why. I didn't actually know why, but I knew I was familiar with them. And
It felt familiar. Something about
yeah, I
that.
just felt
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know this.
Yes.
And everybody kind of came running over to where I was babysitting, knocked on the door. There was probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 townspeople that were right there in the center that lived there that came over and said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was so excited that somebody else had seen this, that because you do question, no one talks about it. You do question your sanity a little bit. Not
Yes.
that I did, I knew they were real. I just found it fascinating that other people didn't see them or didn't remember seeing them. But that's the same type of instances that I'd had in a lot of different experiences with my life. I've studied under James Van Praagh. I'm a medium. I do readings. So, no one talks about those things either. So I was okay with people not talking about it. But this time they said, yes, yes, we saw that. There were like three UFOs that came right over where I was babysitting. And I just said,
What did they look like? What did they look like?
these were more circular. They had the lights that were kind of rotated. It was like a wheel within a wheel going around. They were circular, more like a dish, they say cigar shape or whatever, but they weren't really huge. They weren't very big. Um, just, I would say normal from what I'm familiar with. And then the next day I was so excited. I woke, got home, went to bed, and woke up and run over to my best friend's house and said, "You saw that, right?" And it was as if there was this forgetting that happened.
Oh.
Everybody was now, yeah, I remember that. But hey, did you catch the game on the TV last night?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So there is this ability to help us not remember.
Yes.
And Betty and Barney Hill knew something was wrong because time was missing, but they didn't remember until clinical hypnotherapy was utilized to
Oh,
help.
that's right. Yeah.
There's no there's this real strong ability, but I kind of want to just note that there are laws in the universe, and they are not really allowed to interfere with what's going on, especially with the wars and how we're destroying the planet. But they are trying to help. They are trying to work with us. But there's universal laws that keep them in a certain place, but they've been with us since day one. You see hieroglyphs with
Yes.
that depict the UFOs. In the
Yes.
Bible, in Ezekiel, it's noted that flying discs, and in Daniel in the Bible, it's noted the wheel in the sky. It's all they've been around forever. Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, noted that around 1998ish and on, he wasn't absolutely set with that date, that it would start becoming more and more prevalent, that we would see more UFOs, that they were starting to make themselves known, and they have been. So that was that evening when I was babysitting. I knew that they would come. I was a little nervous at times. I can't tell you I wasn't perfectly calm, but I had this relationship with them, and I can tell you the planet that my visitors would come from if you're
Yes.
interested in
Please.
Arcturia. So it's the Arcturians that worked with me, and they're peaceful, loving, wise beings, filled with just compassion and love and wisdom. And it's not the same kind of love that we feel down here. It's a little different. It's a different vibration feeling. And I remember on a date with my then boyfriend, he became my husband, and he was driving my car. And we were heading in the back roads from Farmington to Augusta. And it was dark. It's an evening, and I saw them coming. And
Oh,
they were coming over. You could see them out through the front windshield, and the car died. And the car died, and I'm sitting there thinking, just like you would if your parents showed up on your first date, you'd be like, oh man, no, don't do this to me, go away. And it's telepathic. So you can just think things, you just think it. And they did. They went away, and the car started. Vern did not, as he was my boyfriend then, he didn't know what to do. And I didn't tell him anything because it was very embarrassing. However, I had many more experiences. So I mentioned, I think last time, having my oldest son was born, brand new baby, and both Vern and I heard them coming and felt it, and I knew they were coming for the baby, and
oh,
yeah, I knew, and so I'm trying to get out of bed. I'm got to go save my babies. I'm a new mom. This is nothing touches your baby.
of
And I
course.
couldn't get out of bed. Vern couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed. We were immobilized. And then the next thing you know, we're back to sleep. But at about 6 o'clock the next morning, the franticness of my baby was still there. I was out of bed before my eyes were opened. I mean, I still had that adrenaline to run and see. And my son was there. He was in his crib. He was fine. But he knows that he's had visitations, and they generally do run in families. My younger son has not been bothered. He never was bothered. I then started having some discomfort that I needed to see my gynecologist with, and both of my boys were a little older now, but there was just some severe discomfort going on. And my doctor was shocked to note that a fallopian tube was pulled down through my vaginal area, and he
Wow.
had never seen anything like that.
Wow.
No, I can't say I have either. And so there were things going on that I have slowly pieced together. I've
Why,
never
why do you think they would have done that with your fallopian tube? What do you think the goal was for them? The intention?
Well, this is what I've slowly pieced together, and there's been other thoughts on this. Is that they were um, taking eggs. They were taking my eggs, my ovaries. They were taking
Yes,
eggs from the ovaries,
I see.
and they've been doing that. I'm not the only one, and so they've been working on hybrids. They've been working on creating
Hmm.
a hybrid race that could survive, but
Yes.
also that can bring the message. So, there are a lot of Palladians here on the planet right now. There are many hybrid Arcturians that are here on the planet. And they're really trying to help as best they can for us to come into this Aquarian age that you're talking
Yes.
about,
Yes.
to raise the vibration,
Yes.
to be able to create what it is intended to create. And they really do have our best interest at heart.
So we
But
do not destroy the planet, just as we talked about
so we
before.
do not destroy this planet. So they stopped when I stopped, went through the change of life. They stopped needing me.
Huh.
So I don't see them anymore, but I can tell you the feelings that I've had. And I
Yes.
am a clinical hypnotherapist too, but I've never utilized that to find out what's been going on. I get flashes or I get pictures, and then the sense of knowing. And a lot of my friends, I'm going to revert back just a little bit. Living in Raymond, Maine, it was very prolific in that area, and that's not far from where Julie lives, over Highland Lake.
Oh.
We have seen the mothership. That was huge, huge come over, and friends that had never experienced anything like that, when they'd come visit me, very rarely would come back. So it was just a little too scary for some people. I think I mentioned last time that my husband kept a baseball bat under the bed
Yes.
because and these are very shy. The Arcturians are not like the Greys. They're very shy. And they had come into the bedroom and he saw them this time, and you got to actually see them. And I have seen them. And you had asked me last time, I believe, what color they were, and they're like
Yes.
a bluish. It's a bluish, it's a bluish color. And there's different shapes and different sizes, and very interesting. But they fled as soon as my husband got the baseball bat out, and I was a little embarrassed now that he had the baseball bat, trying to tell him to stop it, because it would be
What
like,
what
what?
happened? What happened when he brought
Nothing.
the
They're gone. They're gone. They were gone, and
Okay.
he just stood there. He was very much afraid. It was very
Yes.
much afraid. I wasn't, but there was an uncomfortability. There was something, because I have no control whatsoever. And then
Right.
very minimal memory. I have memory of going under the sea, going deep into the sea. I have a memory of being on a spaceship, and the brightest lights you can imagine, but they're not fluorescent. They're not fluorescent, and some surgical procedures. And I was not alone. There was so many people there, and you look like and feel like you're in suspended animation, kind of. It's not like you're fully aware of what's going on. They have
Huh.
that ability.
Did it feel like
So
you were on a ship or something, or
I was, yeah,
yeah? Okay.
yeah, didn't, yeah, I was on the ship, and the ship went underwater. There's a lot of underwater places. This felt like the ocean. And then it was also in the atmosphere. Um, but it was very interesting feeling, clinical, very, very sterile, very bright, but
Mhm.
not fluorescent bright lights. So we've seen them, they followed me. I moved from Maine, other places, they followed me. And then when I, um, going through the change of life, really stopped, and there was this hole in my life. I miss them. I
Ah.
really miss them.
Huh.
I miss them very much. But
When's the
what
last time you saw them? How long ago?
it's been a long time. I'm going to have
Mm.
to say probably close to 10 years. I still can see different, movement in the sky. My friend just called me, I'm going to say probably 2 months ago, and she goes, "Your friends were here." And she never believed in any of that. So,
Ah, now she does.
yes, she does. So the thing that I'm learning right now, and again, my biggest takeaway and lesson has been to suspend judgment and to see what I can learn. What does this mean? Dr. Brian Weiss, I studied under him, for clinical hypnotherapy, excuse me. And he said, even you don't have to believe everything that you hear. I don't ask people to believe me. They don't have to.
Right.
But if you can glean something from the story that helps you evolve and move your life
Yes.
forward, that's the
Yes.
key. So I'm
Yes.
sharing this story. No one has to believe it. Please, no one. If it's not comfortable to you, don't. But the next piece has been the most interesting that they've given me. And I'm I hope you don't mind me sharing this piece. I've mentioned it to you before, Leo.
Yes.
And that
Please
is,
do.
I'm now meeting beings here on earth that really I didn't give birth to, but have asked me if I'm their mother.
Wow.
And this one beautiful soul, we did a lot of work together. She was in the healing arts. I was utilizing clinical hypnotherapy, and she was younger, much younger. She could have been my child. And
Where did you meet her at? Where did you see her?
in New York. So it was, we lived in Saratoga Springs, New York, which was a very spiritual center. It's very great energy center, and she was a massage therapist there. And she came to me for some, some sessions, and then we started trading because she was of that ilk, to barter and trade, and that's what I am. And there's this heart connection, and I've met probably 4 or 5 now of these young adults that I know somehow, don't ask me how, I do not know how, that I know that I helped create somehow from any of
Wow.
those eggs that were gathered. But don't
What does that
ask me.
make you feel? What does that make you feel? That now?
Very special. So I don't see the Arcturians anymore, but now I'm still meeting these beautiful souls.
Oh my God, that's
And
amazing.
it is amazing. And I can't explain it. And it's my journey. So it's really kind of very special. But these are people that have such a high vibration, and they're so loving, and they're young, and it really gives you hope. It instills hope. And they
That is
seem
so
to be
wonderful to hear.
drawn. They find me. I'm not searching. It's like we find each other, actually.
That is so wonderful to hear, especially as we've been talking today about the changing of consciousness is what's necessary
Mm.
for our planet right now. Just that's so
There's
beautiful and so
hope.
wonderful to hear you say that. There's hope. That's great to hear. So remember, everything is not about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. That's not the end of the world. That's part of our transition.
No, it's part of our transition, and I don't want to take up any more time. I'd like to hear the meditation.
Oh, that's very sensitive of you. Thank you, Holly. Um, I'd like to have you back if you'll come back, like in a panel. I'd like to have a few different people that have had these experiences,
That would
and
be
maybe we
fun.
can. Yeah, I'd really like to do that. Probably soon.
That'd be fun.
Take good care of yourself. I'll see you again.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Holly. And Deborah, there you are. It was kind of
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, to hear that. Yeah, to hear her experiences and pretty powerful. Very
Really
powerful.
powerful. And
Yeah.
we're talking about a very credible, intelligent, evolved human being that's giving us this information. So that's really, really great.
Yeah. And it's good to know during these times that we have divine assistance in different forms.
Yeah,
You know,
very.
from our spiritual guides, from the enlightened ones and the inner planes and the star beings. I mean, it's very reassuring to know that there's divine intervention.
So, fellow humans, before we get into the meditation, fellow humans, really do that inner work. Get into your meditation, commune with other people, they're part of your soul family, and help us all to get to a place where we don't create the enemies and the demons, where we see what links us all and we learn how to connect while keeping our individual integrity. Deb, can you lead
Yes.
us in a meditation now with the little bit of time we have left?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say first what I've been noticing with my clients.
Yes.
I'm also a spiritual psychotherapist and priestess. And what I've noticed with friends and clients, and there a lot of people are feeling very vulnerable right now.
Yes.
That's one of the big things, vulnerable, insecure, feeling like
Yeah,
so much is unknown.
exactly.
And I think, what is known. And I think during times like this, what's most important is for us to be able to be present in the moment as much as we can. That can really help us if we have anxiety or insecurity, and to be in our heart. And
Indeed.
whatever we see out there that is hard for us to be with, that might be frightening or whatever, we just need to remember that we need to find that peace within ourselves and come back to the love within our own hearts and how
That's right.
important that is. And to connect with Mother Earth as much as possible, to be, to ground ourselves. So I just want to say that those are some of the tools I think that are so important right
That's
now,
wonderful. Thank
is
you for
that
that.
grounding connecting to Mother Earth, connecting to nature, connecting to the, animals, the creatures, the birds, your own heart,
Yes.
and just coming into a peaceful place as much as you can, because that's, the outer world is a reflection of what's within us. As within, so without, as above, so below.
Indeed.
So it's important to, I think, really have that consciousness and awareness that we are all connected, that we're all interwoven with each other in the great field of oneness. So
Thank you,
I just
Deborah.
want to say that. So I'm just going to do a very short meditation to just bring everyone into their heart center. And because that's a place that we need to be right now. Very simply, whatever we can do to be in our heart center. So just taking a moment to just breathe into your heart right now. And just tune in to the threefold flames of your heart that we all have. It's our Holy Spirit within us, the divinity of our soul. The threefold flame of our divine love, our divine light and wisdom, and our divine power of creation. Just feeling those flames. You may see them, you may sense them, and just breathing into those flames in your heart. As you breathe into those flames in your heart, feel yourself becoming more and more relaxed, more and more at peace. And you can focus on the energy of peace. And feeling the energy of Mother Earth beneath you. Sending your heart flame down to bless Mother Earth. As you feel Mother Earth's heartbeat, beginning to feel your heart coming into resonance, the sacred heartbeat of Mother Earth. Just know how supported you are by our beloved Earth, the great mother of all that is. And then tuning in to the vast universe, the starry realms, to the heart of Source. Just sending your heart flames to the heart of Source. And feeling the heartbeat of the universe. Aligning your heartbeat with the universe now. And just feel a rain of blessings from the divine Mother and Father, Goddess God, all that is, flowing down around you, being blessed by the angels and archangels, star beings, our star families. Just feel your own presence in your heart, connected now with the heartbeat of Mother Earth and the heart of Source, knowing that you are held and loved.
Mhm. Thank you, Deborah. And everyone that can still hear, we will be on again next Saturday with daylight savings times differences for everybody around the globe. And just keep in mind all the things we've heard today from all of us about the unity and the love that joins us all. Remember, we're on the Oneness Network too. And around the spring equinox, there's going to be some special shows on this network, not just on this show. So we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.